Ecuador sits on the equator, exactly where the name says it should. But location is not what makes it impossible. What makes it impossible is density, not population density. Though Quito is crowded, geographic density, ecological density, the compression of climates and altitudes and ecosystems into a space smaller than Italy. You can stand on a glacier in the morning and wade through rainforest by afternoon. You can watch condors at dawn and penguins by dusk.
So if you want more journeys into the unforgiving, the beautiful, and the unknown, subscribe. Hit that button and join us as we explore the places that don't fit on postcards.
You can experience 4 seasons by simply changing elevation without changing latitude at all. This is not metaphor. This is physics and geography conspiring. The country divides into 4 distinct regions, each operating by different rules. The coast faces the Pacific, hot and humid, shaped by currents. The highlands, the Sierra, rise abruptly inland, a double chain of volcanoes and valleys running north-south. East of the peaks, the land plunges into Amazonia, where rivers begin their long journey toward the Atlantic. And then, isolated in the Pacific, the Galapagos Islands exist as their own world entirely. For regions, for logics, one small country. Start in the highlands, where geography reaches upward. The Andes here are not a single range. They are 2 parallel cordilleras, mountain chains running like rails with valleys between. This structure creates a landscape of compartments. Each valley is its own microclimate, its own agricultural zone, its own cultural pocket. Quito sits in one such valley, at 2,850 meters elevation. The city stretches north to south, confined by mountains on either side. It cannot expand east or west, only along the valley floor. This gives a peculiar shape, elongated and narrow, dictated entirely by terrain. The altitude is immediately noticeable. Breathing requires adjustment. Walking uphill exhausts newcomers. The sun is intense, closer at this elevation, filtered through less atmosphere. Skin burns quickly. Hydration is not optional, but temperature is moderate. Eternal spring, they call it. Daytime warmth. Cool nights. No extreme heat. No bitter cold. The equator's consistency combines with elevation's coolness to create climate that requires no heating, no air conditioning, just windows and adaptation. The city is old. Colonial architecture clusters in the historic center. Churches with gilt interiors. Plazas with fountains, balconies overlooking narrow streets. UNESCO declared a World Heritage Site, recognizing preservation that survived earthquakes, modernization, urban pressure. But Quito is not museum. It is working city. Traffic chokes streets built for horses. Modern glass towers rise in new districts. Cable cars lift residents up steep slopes where buses cannot reach. The city functions by layering old and new, without fully resolving the tension between them. North of Quito, volcanoes dominate. Cayambe is the 3rd highest peak in Ecuador, and the highest point on Earth that sits directly on the equator. Glaciers cover its summit despite equatorial latitude. Physics allows this because elevation overcomes latitude. Cold air at 5,790 meters defeats tropical position. Climbing Cayambe is technical. Crevasses open without warning. Ice conditions shift. Weather changes rapidly. Climbers start at midnight, navigating by headlamp, hoping to summit at dawn before sun-weakened snow bridges. The view from the top breaks perspective. You stand on ice at 0 degrees latitude. Both hemispheres are visible simultaneously. The equator runs beneath your feet, an imaginary line made tangible by the fact that you are standing exactly on it, higher than anywhere else on that line globally. Further south, Cotopaxi rises, one of the world's highest active volcanoes. Its cone is nearly perfect, symmetrical in a way that seems designed rather than geological. Snow covers the upper slopes year-round. Below the snow line, Paramo grasslands stretch, high-altitude ecosystems that exist nowhere else. Cotopaxi erupts periodically, not frequently, but reliably. The last significant eruption was 2015. Ash fell on Quito. Lahars, volcanic mudflows threatened valleys. Residents evacuated. Then the eruption subsided and people returned. Living beneath an active volcano requires acceptance. The mountain provides water, glacial melt feeds agriculture. It shapes weather, creating rain shadows, channeling winds. It defines identity. Cotopaxi appears on currency, in art, in daily conversation. The risk is not ignored. It is integrated. Volcanoes here are not background. They are participants. They shape soil fertility. Volcanic ash creates some of the richest agricultural land on Earth. They dictate settlement patterns. Valleys are populated. Slopes are voided. They influence spirituality. Indigenous cosmology regards peaks as sacred, powerful, alive. Chimborazo sits further south, the highest mountain in Ecuador at 6,263 meters. More significantly, due to Earth's equatorial bulge, Chimborazo's summit is the farthest point from Earth's center. Everest is higher above sea level, but Chimborazo is farther from the planet's core. This is not trivia. It is geometry. Earth is not a perfect sphere. It bulges at the equator. Standing on Chimborazo's peak places you at the maximum distance from the center of the planet, slightly farther out into space than anywhere else on the surface. The mountain was once believed to be the world's highest. Alexander von Humboldt attempted the summit in 1802 and failed, but his climb was the highest anyone had documented at that time. His expedition through Ecuador produced scientific observations that helped establish biogeography, ecology, and modern environmental science. Humboldt recognized that altitude creates zones. Temperature drops predictably with elevation. Vegetation changes in bands. Animals adapt to specific ranges. The mountain becomes a vertical journey through climates that would span continents if traveled horizontally. Ecuador's highlands demonstrate this compression constantly. Otavalo, north of Quito, sits in a valley famous for textiles and markets. Indigenous communities maintain traditions interrupted but not destroyed by colonization. Markets operate on Saturdays, locals and tourists mixing in spaces that function as economy and social centers simultaneously. The market sells textiles woven using methods centuries old. Patterns carry meaning. Colors indicate origin. Quality is evident to those who know what to look for. Negotiation is expected. Prices are flexible. Transactions are social, not purely economic. Surrounding hills are agricultural. Potatoes, maize, quinoa. Crops adapted to altitude, to thin air, to intense sun and cold nights. Farming here is not mechanized. It is manual, communal, relying on knowledge passed generationally. Water is critical. Highland valleys depend on glacial melt and seasonal rains. Climate change is altering both. Glaciers are retreating visibly, measurably. Rainy seasons are less predictable. Agricultural timing is disrupted. Communities adapt, but margins are thin. Descend eastward, and the land collapses. The transition from highlands to Amazon is abrupt. Mountains do not slope gently. They drop. Roads descend in switchbacks, losing altitude rapidly. Temperature rises. Humidity increases. Vegetation thickens. Within hours, you pass from alpine grasslands through cloud forest into lowland jungle. The compression is disorienting. Ecosystems that would span thousands of kilometers elsewhere stack vertically here. Cloud forest exists at the transition zone. Fog condenses constantly. Moisture drips. Moss covers everything. Trees are draped in epiphytes, orchids, bromeliads, ferns growing on branches without soil. The forest is layered three-dimensionally, life stacked upon life. Biodiversity here is extreme. Species counts per hectare exceed almost anywhere else on Earth. But visibility is limited. The forest is dense. Sounds dominate. Bird calls, insect hums, water dripping. You hear more than you see. Below cloud forest, the Amazon begins properly. Rivers multiply. Terrain flattens slightly but remains hilly. The canopy closes overhead. Sunlight is filtered green-tinted. Heat becomes oppressive. Rain arrives suddenly, intense, brief, then gone. Ecuador's Amazon is not the vast flatness of Brazil. It is Andean foothills transitioning into lowlands. Rivers here are young, fast-moving, fed by mountain runoff. They carry sediment, cutting channels that shift annually. Indigenous communities inhabit this region, Shure, Waorani, Kichwa, and others. Some maintain traditional lifestyles. Others have adapted, incorporating modern tools while preserving cultural practices. Land rights are contested. Oil extraction intrudes. The tension between preservation and development is constant, unresolved. Oil is Ecuador's economic engine. Reserves lie beneath the Amazon. Extraction began decades ago. Pipelines cross forests. Roads penetrate previously inaccessible areas. Spills occur. Pollution accumulates. The cost is environmental and social. Habitats disrupted, communities displaced. Yet the economy depends on oil revenue. Government budgets are tied to petroleum prices. Infrastructure is funded by extraction. The country is caught between need and consequence. Traveling the Amazon requires river transport. Roads are limited. Boats become primary vehicles. Motorized canoes navigating channels that narrow and widen unpredictably. Sandbars appear. Logs float submerged. Navigation is skilled, intuitive, dangerous. Communities along rivers are isolated. Supplies arrive irregularly. Communication is difficult. Medical care is hours away at best. Life here operates at different pace, governed by river levels and weather more than calendars. The rainforest itself is not empty. It is densely populated, with life other than human. Insects dominate numerically. Birds are everywhere but often invisible. Mammals are present but elusive. The forest is alive constantly, but most of that life is hidden, small, or nocturnal. At night, sounds intensify. Frogs call in choruses. Insects create rhythms. Larger animals move through darkness. The forest does not sleep. It shifts into nocturnal mode. Now turned westward toward the coast. Descending from the Sierra toward the Pacific, the land changes again. Dry forests appear. Trees that shed leaves seasonally, adapted to irregular rainfall. This is not rainforest. It is tropical dry forest, rare globally, threatened everywhere exists. Further west, the climate moistens again. Coastal lowlands receive rain during wet season, creating agricultural zones that produce bananas, cacao, rice. These are export crops. Plantations dominate. Small farmers compete with agribusiness. Land ownership is concentrated. Guayaquil is Ecuador's largest city, sitting inland from the coast on a river delta. It is hot, humid, commercial. The port handles most of Ecuador's trade. Shipping containers stack in yards. Cranes operate constantly. The city's economy is transactional. Goods moving in, goods moving out. Guayaquil lacks Quito's colonial charm. It burned repeatedly in its history. What remains is modern, concrete, functional. The waterfront, Malecon 2000, has been renovated, turned into public space with parks and monuments. But the city's heart is business, not tourism. North along the coast, fishing villages cling to beaches. Esmeralda's province is Afro-Ecuadorian culturally. Descendants of escaped slaves and shipwreck survivors who established communities that developed distinct identity. Music here is different. Food is different. Rhythms are Caribbean-influenced, not Andean. The coast faces the Pacific, with no continental shelf. Deep water approaches close. This influences marine life. Cold currents from the south meet warm equatorial water. Nutrients upwell. Fish populations thrive when conditions allow. El Niño disrupts everything. Warm water years bring rain to the coast, drought to the highlands. Fish migrations shift. Agriculture suffers or benefits unpredictably. Ecuador geography is always dynamic, but El Niño amplifies volatility. Finally, the Galapagos. The islands sit 1,000 kilometers offshore, isolated in the Pacific. Volcanic in origin, they are young, geologically speaking. The oldest islands are perhaps 5 million years old. The youngest are still forming. Volcanic activity continues. What makes the Galapagos impossible is evolution made visible. Species here evolved in isolation. Without predators, animals lost fear. You can approach within meters. Sea lions ignore you. Iguanas do not flee. Birds continue nesting as you photograph them. The lack of fear is not tameness. It is absence of evolutionary pressure to develop it. Darwin visited in 1835. His observations here contributed to formulating natural selection theory. The finches, different beak shapes adapted to different food sources, became textbook examples. But the islands offer countless demonstrations of adaptation. Marine iguanas exist nowhere else. They are the only lizards that feed in the ocean. They dive, graze on algae, return ashore to warm up. Their bodies are not optimized for swimming, but they manage. Evolution worked with available material, land iguanas, and adapted them to marine environment. Galapagos penguins are the only penguins found north of the equator. They survive because cold currents bring Antarctic water. The ocean temperature here is cooler than latitude suggests. Penguins can exist because oceanography defeats geography. Giant tortoises, the island's namesake, live over a century. They evolved large size on islands with limited predators and abundant food. Different islands produce different shell shapes. Saddleback shells on islands with tall vegetation. Dome-shaped shells on islands with low plants. Each island's tortoise population is distinct, but they nearly went extinct. Whalers and sailors harvested them for food. Tortoises could survive months in ship hold without food or water, providing fresh meat on long voyages. Introduced species, goats, rats, pigs, devastated habitats, and ate eggs. Populations crashed. Conservation efforts have been intensive. Breeding programs. Eradication of invasive species. Habitat restoration. Some populations have recovered. Others remain critically endangered. The tortoises are not safe, but they are safer than they were. Tourism is tightly controlled. Visitor numbers are limited. Access to certain islands is restricted. Guides are mandatory. The goal is to allow visitation while minimizing impact. The balance is imperfect but functional. The islands are not paradise. They are harsh. Volcanic rock is sharp. Water is scarce on land. Heat is intense. The landscape is barren in places. Black lava fields with sparse vegetation. Beauty here is alien, stark, not conventionally picturesque. But the wildlife is unmatched. Blue-footed boobies perform mating dances, feet flashing iridescent blue. Frigate birds inflate red throat pouches to attract mates. Sea lions nurse pups on beaches, while males patrol territories aggressively. Hammerhead sharks school in hundreds. Manta rays glide past divers. The Galapagos are not museum. They are active laboratory. Evolution continues. Species adapt to ongoing changes. Climate shifts. Human presence grows. The islands are not frozen in Darwin's time. They are proceeding forward, shaped by forces both natural and human. Return now to the mainland, to Paramo. This high-altitude ecosystem exists in scattered patches along the Andes. In Ecuador, Paramo covers highlands above Trilene, but below permanent snow. The vegetation is specialized grasses, shrubs, unique flowering plants adapted to cold, wind, intense UV radiation. Frail Jones, giant rosette plants, dominate in some areas. They grow slowly, adding millimeters annually. Some individuals are hundreds of years old. They are adapted perfectly to Paramo conditions. Hairy leaves retain moisture. Compact form resist wind. Dark color absorbs scarce heat. Paramo functions as water storage. The vegetation and soil act like sponges, absorbing rain and releasing it slowly. Rivers that supply Quito and other highland cities originate in Paramo. The ecosystem is hydrological infrastructure, natural, functional, irreplaceable. But Paramo is fragile. Overgrazing damages it. Agriculture encroaches. Climate change shifts temperature zones upward. Once destroyed, Paramo regenerates extremely slowly, if at all. The consequences are not just ecological, they are economic. Cities depend on water Paramo provides. Conservation here is not idealism. It is pragmatic necessity. Ecuador's biodiversity is disproportionate to its size. Despite occupying less than 2% of Earth's land area, it contains roughly 10% of all plant species. Bird diversity is extraordinary. Over 1,600 species recorded. Amphibians, reptiles, insects, numbers are staggering. This density exists because of geography. The country contains multiple ecosystems compressed into small space. Species from different zones overlap. Endemism is high. Many species exist only here, often only in specific valleys or on specific mountain slopes. But this biodiversity is under pressure. Deforestation continues. Agriculture expands. Mining intrudes. Development accelerates. Protected areas exist, but enforcement is inconsistent. Resources are limited. Competing interests clash. The Paramo is not empty aesthetically. It is beautiful in subtle ways, not dramatic but layered. Mist rolls through valleys. Light shifts constantly. Colors are muted, greens, browns, grays. Flowers appear in unexpected bursts of color against the dominant earth tones. Walking through Paramo is slow. Altitude limits exertion. Terrain is uneven. Bogs hide beneath grass. The ground is soft, wet, unreliable. Each step requires attention, but the silence is profound. Wind is often the only sound. No traffic, no machinery, just air moving across open land. The quiet is not empty. It is full of absence, which is different. Move now to consider Ecuador's cultural geography. The country is not unified ethnically. Indigenous populations maintain distinct identities. Mestizos, mixed European and indigenous ancestry, form the majority. Afro-Ecuadorians are concentrated on the coast. Small populations of European, Asian, and Middle Eastern descent exist in cities. Spanish is the official language, but Quechua is widely spoken in highlands. Shur and other indigenous languages persist in the Amazon. Language indicates identity, region, heritage. Culturally, the Sierra and the Costa are distinct. Highland culture is Andean. Influenced by Inca legacy, Spanish colonization, indigenous persistence. Coastal culture is more Caribbean influenced, more African influenced, more relaxed in rhythm. The divide is not hostile, but it is real. Political power has historically concentrated in Quito. Economic power has centered in Guayaquil. The two cities represent different Ecuadors. Music reflects these divisions. Highland music features panpipes, charangos, rhythms tied to Andean tradition. Coastal music incorporates drums, guitars, rhythms that invite dancing. Both are Ecuadorian, but they do not sound similar. Food varies by region. The coast emphasizes seafood, ceviche, encebollado, corviche. The highlands favor grains, potatoes, roasted meats. The Amazon incorporates wild game, river fish, yuca. Each region's cuisine is shaped by what grows or lives there. Ecuador's geography has always fragmented it. Mountain valleys isolated communities. Travel between regions was difficult. Even now, infrastructure is limited. Roads are often single-lane, winding, vulnerable to landslides. Fly between Quito and Guayaquil is faster than driving, though the distance is not extreme. But crossing the Andes by road means ascending one side, crossing passes, descending the other, hours of twisting pavement through landscapes that shift dramatically. This fragmentation has political consequences. Regionalism persists. National identity is weaker than local identity for many. Ecuador is a collection of places more than a unified whole. Yet it functions. Government operates. Economy proceeds. People navigate between regions. The country is not falling apart. It is simply heterogeneous, held together by structures formal and informal. Markets connect regions. Highland produce reaches the coast. Coastal fish reaches the highlands. Trade creates interdependence. No region is self-sufficient. This economic reality binds what geography separates. Consider now the speed of change. Ecuador is transforming rapidly. Quito expands annually. Infrastructure improves. Internet reaches remote areas. Young people migrate to cities. Traditional lifestyles erode. But change is uneven. Some communities modernize quickly. Others change slowly. The result is temporal fragmentation. Different eras coexisting simultaneously. Villages without electricity exist hours from cities with skyscrapers. This creates tension between old and new, between tradition and opportunity, between staying and leaving. Young people face choices their parents never did. Migration is option now. To cities, to other countries, to futures that require abandoning origin. Remittances are significant. Ecuadorians working abroad send money home. This supports families, but also drains communities of working-age adults. Villages become populated by children and elderly. The middle is absent, earning elsewhere. Ecuador's economy is dollarized. The country abandoned its currency, the sucre, in 2000, adopting the US dollar after financial crisis. This brought stability but removed monetary policy as tool. The government cannot print money, cannot devalue currency, cannot control inflation through traditional means. Dollarization made Ecuador dependent on external factors. Dollar strength affects competitiveness. U.S. monetary policy impacts Ecuador despite having no input. Sovereignty is compromised economically even as it is maintained politically. Oil revenue still dominates government budgets. Petroleum exports fund infrastructure, education, healthcare, but oil prices fluctuate. Boom and bust cycles create instability. Long-term planning is difficult when revenue is unpredictable. The country is trying to diversify. Tourism is a growing sector. Ecotourism especially. Visitors come for wildlife, for volcanoes, for indigenous culture. The Galapagos attract tourists willing to pay premium prices. Mainland destinations develop more slowly but steadily. Agriculture exports beyond traditional crops. Flowers, especially roses, are major export. Grown at high altitude, Ecuadorian roses have long stems and vibrant colors. They reach international markets via air freight, arriving fresh in North America and Europe. Shrimp farming has expanded on the coast. Pools are carved into mangroves. Production is intensive. Environmental impact is significant. Mangroves destroyed, water quality degraded, but economic returns are substantial. The industry continues growing. Ecuador faces what many small countries face, balancing immediate economic need against long-term environmental cost. The calculation is never simple. Poverty is not abstract. People need income. Families need food. Preservation is luxury when survival is uncertain. Yet Ecuador has attempted conservation. Yasuni National Park in the Amazon is one of the most biodiverse places on Earth. The government proposed leaving oil beneath Yasuni unextracted if international community compensated for lost revenue. The initiative failed. Funding never materialized sufficiently. Oil extraction in Yasuni proceeded. The compromise was always unstable. National need outweighed global concern. The decision was pragmatic, not ideal. Ecuador's environmental challenges are not unique, but they are concentrated. Small area contains extraordinary biodiversity. Economic pressure is intense. Governance capacity is limited. The outcome is uncertain. What is certain is change. Glaciers are disappearing. Ecosystems are shifting. Species are declining. The Ecuador that exists now will not exist unchanged in 50 years. The question is not whether change happens. It is how it happens. Whether loss is managed or catastrophic. Whether something is preserved or everything is extracted. Ecuador does not have answers yet. It is navigating, adapting, often reacting rather than planning. But the country endures. Not smoothly, not without cost, but it continues. Stand anywhere in Ecuador and impossibility surrounds you. Glaciers at the equator, penguins in tropical waters, rainforests visible from snow-covered peaks. For ecosystems within a day's travel, this compression is Ecuador's gift and its burden. Extraordinary diversity in limited space. Intense beauty alongside intense pressure. The country does not simplify itself. It presents complexity and asks you to hold it all simultaneously. You cannot understand Ecuador from one region, cannot grasp it from single perspective, cannot reduce it to easy narrative. It is coast and mountains and jungle and islands. It is indigenous and mestizo and African. It is traditional and modern and transitioning. It is all these things without resolution. And perhaps that is the deepest impossibility, that it holds together despite fragmentation, that it functions despite division, that it persists despite pressure. Ecuador does not offer conclusions. It offers moments. A condor circling volcanic peaks, a howler monkey calling from canopy, a market vendor negotiating over textiles, a fisherman hauling nets at dawn. There is another Ecuador that reveals itself only through repetition, not the Ecuador highlights and itineraries, but the one that emerges when you stop moving through and start moving within. It appears in the rhythm of daily markets, the way vendors arrange produce by color, not just type, the way conversations begin with greetings that inquire about family, health, life, never rushing to transaction, the way prices soften when faces become familiar. You notice how time operates differently at different altitudes. In Quito, the pace is urban. Schedules matter, buses run routes, businesses open and close predictably. But drive an hour into surrounding valleys, and time loosens. Appointments become approximate. Tomorrow expands to include the day after. Urgency fades because it accomplishes little against the rain and weather. This is not inefficiency. It is adaptation to environment where conditions change unpredictably. Roads wash out. Vehicles break down. Rain delays everything. Building rigidity into systems that must flex creates brittleness. Better to remain adaptable. The attitude extends to problem solving. When something breaks, repair is default response. Replacement is expensive, often impossible in remote areas. Mechanics improvise solutions using available materials. A broken part becomes opportunity for ingenuity, not crisis. You see this especially in rural communities. Tools are repaired until they cannot be repaired anymore, then repurposed. Vehicles run decades past their intended lifespan, maintained through constant attention. Nothing is disposable because disposal is unaffordable. This creates relationship with objects different from disposable cultures. Things are known, their quirks, their weaknesses, their histories. A truck is not generic vehicle. It is specific machine with personality, limitations, tricks that make it function. The same intimacy exists with land. Farmers know their fields individually, which slope drains poorly, which corner produces best, where frost arrives first. This knowledge is not written. It is embodied, accumulated through seasons of observation. Planting decisions are based on this intimacy. When to seed, where to focus effort, what to expect, all derived from pattern recognition, refined over lifetimes. Modern agricultural advice exists, but local knowledge often proves more reliable because it accounts for specifics no general recommendation can address. Weather reading is similar skill. Clouds are interpreted. Wind direction matters. Animal behavior provides signals. Farmers make decisions based on information most urbanites never notice. This attention to detail extends into social realm. Status is understood through subtle markers. How someone greets you, where they sit, who speaks first in gatherings. These hierarchies are not written, but they are observed. Age commands respect automatically. Community elders hold authority that requires no enforcement. It is simply granted. Conflict resolution happens through these structures. Disputes are mediated by respected figures. Direct confrontation is avoided when possible. Solutions prioritize relationship preservation over individual victory. The community must continue functioning after disagreement resolves. This social fabric is tested by migration. Young people leave for opportunities elsewhere. They send money home, but take energy with them. Villages lose vitality. Schools close. Traditions interrupt. Ecuador compresses time and space in ways that make distance irrelevant and depth inevitable. You leave carrying questions more than answers. Not frustration, but curiosity that lingers. How does this country hold together? How long can glaciers last? What will communities become when elders pass and youth have migrated? These questions have no simple responses. They are Ecuador's ongoing negotiation with itself. And somewhere as you depart, the negotiation continues. Markets open, fields are tended, volcanoes stand, rivers flow. Children walk to schools that may or may not have teachers today. Ecuador persists, not because it has solved contradictions, but because it lives within them daily. The impossible made ordinary through repetition. Thanks for watching. See you soon.